Hey everyone, welcome to this after church tea time. We're very happy to be here to discuss today's sermon and Sunday service about role of compassion in our spiritual life, done by Jose and Michaela. And yeah, it was a really rich service, and I'm ready to discuss it with you, ladies. I'm Doreen, and I'm a member of this community, and I let you offer to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Zimmerman, and I'm also a student of Twin Flame Ascension School, and I'm in Harmonious Union with my twin flame.
Hi, I'm Kanisha Marie Moore Castillo, and I am also a student of Twin Flame Ascension School, and I am happy to be here.
Nice. Yeah, so just to start things up, I'm always impressed by how on point the lessons of the Sunday services are. It's always like perfectly in tune with what I'm living and healing at the moment. And I know that a lot of people coming in the after church tea times feel the same way. And so, yeah, I just want to start by saying that I had a bit of healing to do before going live today. It was perfect for what we're going to talk about today. I had a bit of like internet problems, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to go live, which is a bit of a problem because I'm hosting. And yeah, it was like I noticed it a lot of times before, but it was like the highest like point of me realizing that I have a pattern of blaming myself for my blocks, and yeah, not being compassionate with myself as I would be for other people going through the same things. And it ties in perfectly with what was spoken of today in the sermon, and also in the introduction done by Adam and Brian, which I loved. And it was about not blaming yourself, not judging yourself for your blocks, and not burning out. So, yeah, how do you ladies feel about what was said today?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed the sermon today. I also agree with what you were saying, how, every time a sermon comes up, or even like a new social media post through the Church of Union, through Twin Flames Universe, it always ties in perfectly to exactly what I'm working through in all levels of my being. And yeah, and I think you touched on something too, which is really cool. You said, I needed to learn how to, talking about your pre-tea time healing situation, which was really powerful and a great learning opportunity. You said something which I thought was really cool. You said, I'm learning to give myself compassion at the same way I would give others. And so realizing that like, if we are giving like love at the expense of ourselves without giving ourselves that love too, it's not really love that we're giving, right? And because we can't give from something that we're not giving ourselves, that we don't have, right? So I thought that was really cool, and kind of like the next layer, the next piece for me, because I tend to do the same. And so I'm learning how to hold space for myself and see that true compassion comes, like the way that I can give compassion to others is I have to first cultivate it within myself. I mean, because otherwise I don't really know what true compassion is. And I think I'm giving it, but I'm actually not if I'm not first giving it to myself. So I'm still like, integrating that and going deeper. But yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I relate with that deeply. I was also doing some healing prior to tea time as well. And I had pulled a card for myself, and it was the surrender and healthy relationships. And I was realizing that the part of me that is hard on myself or doesn't give myself the compassion and the patience and the gentleness that I desire while doing this inner work and moving through the blocks that come up is really the unhealthy relationship that I'm learning how to surrender and let go of. Because it is really important to understand that, yes, we're on this journey to manifest and create a harmonious union with our ultimate lover and our ultimate best friend. But that comes from, like you said, Stephanie, it has to come within first before being able to really have that or give that. And so really understanding that I have to be my own ultimate best friend. And that requires that I have deep compassion for myself as I move through whatever comes up, and really understanding the lengths that it takes, like Jose and Michaela were talking about, like 3 or 4 years of them both doing this work together, and not realizing like who they were to each other until it was ready, till their foundation was ready for them to come into harmonious union. And so really being patient with that process and not trying to rush it, and being hard on yourself when you have to move through certain things, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 times before you ground the lesson itself. But yeah, really just surrendering that unhealthy relationship with self and making sure that we are ultimately giving ourselves the deep compassion that we choose to give others.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like sometimes like I feel like I mess up a lot in my life. But then when I feel clearer, like less upset about it, I realize like who doesn't? Um, we're all on a learning path, like everyone on earth, and that's something Michaela said rather brilliantly. Is that like except for our masters in Babaji on earth, like physically today, we all have blocks and we all have upsets, and um, yeah, and tying it to what Adam said just before, it's like you can't keep your head in the mud, like keep living in hell just because you have blocks. And it's very important, something very important that I realized deeper this past few weeks is that ego can even use this work to try to keep yourself in a hellish situation. And the whole point of this work is to feel good. So it will be kind of counterintuitive to want to do inner work all the time because you would feel bad all the time. And yeah, and also it's like Jose said, it's about being careful what you ask of God. Because if you really want to push yourself, it was just like it was just bring it on. And you will be pushed. But it's also perfect because like through like almost burnout, maybe you will also realize that it's important that you have self-care and self-compassion, and that life is about balance, um, more than achieving a goal quickly.
Yes, perfect. I really loved, bringing it back to Adam and Brienne pulled out the book, Twin Flames Finding Your Ultimate Lover, and pointed out the the keys, the pillars of harmonious union, and compassion being one of them. And there's a reason for that. The pillars are the things that create your spiritual foundation, and that is what manifests in your physical life. And I loved how Jose and Michaela mentioned this as well, and you just touched upon it too, Yureen, how, you know, you could be working and working and working on something at a compassionate pace for you, and just enjoying, Jose talked about this too, about like when you have compassion, you're able to, you know, really enjoy the path to your manifestation, to the good, juicy things. You're enjoying the juicy thing, the whole process. And so you're, you know, manifesting a juicy experience is inevitable because you're already embodying it, right? And just having compassion as you don't push yourself along the way. Well, and then all of a sudden your foundation, boom, it comes together. Something big manifestation comes together. And like for them, after 3-4 years of working on their union, well, actually, probably like 2-3 at the time, they came in harmonious union and they just fell into it. It wasn't really very difficult. And I think it only took Michaela maybe a month, if I remember correctly, only a month to, you know, to go be with him in the physical after after they came into harmonious union. So it was actually quite effortless once you build that foundation. And that's the beautiful and nice thing about having compassion for yourself, and being patient with yourself as you move through it, and enjoying the process of the healing and the self-care and the balance, right? It's that when you do manifest that juicy thing, you get to actually enjoy it. You get to actually enjoy it. And isn't that the whole point? Like, isn't that why we're doing this? Isn't that what Ascension is all about, is being with God, right? Being with God in that, in a higher place, in the next place in our life. And so, and, you know, they also mentioned, you know, taking that to the next level, the contrast of that. So, I mean, not the contrast of it, because just like I should say the same thing, but without compassion, which is pushing yourself, keeping your head in the mud, in the upsets, pushing yourself, being really uncompassionate, asking for something well before you're ready for it. Well, you get it, but you're not happy. You can't really fully enjoy it because you paid for it. And so you're still recovering from pushing yourself to get the thing that you thought you wanted. And so if you look at that truly, like look at the choice and the situation, that's not a choice of really wanting God. That's a choice of wanting the thing, right? Like we've seen that, I've seen that personally with some people in the harmonious unions, pushing themselves so hard, and this was touched upon in the sermon as well, to get their harmonious union, and then they have it. But they quickly fall out because it wasn't God that they were seeking. It was the harmonious union. They were putting it above God, above love, above the good feeling, above any of that. And so they got what they wanted, but there was no foundation to keep it, because you have to have compassion as your foundation. It's the only way to have permanent harmonious union. It's the only way to have permanent results in your life purpose, to build a really solid family, to have a beautiful body. It's not something you can just, you know, fad diet into, right? It's a long-term commitment, and requires a lot of, you know, patience, compassion, and love. This doesn't change. And this is the same foundation for God anywhere in your life. And so I think that this sermon today was really, you know, absolutely beautiful. When I was watching it, I was like live chatting and then saying like, wow, this is like next level stuff, because I feel how powerful this message is. And I just really hope that people, if they're watching this in the open forum right now, or in the unionism discussion forum, wherever you are, and if you maybe didn't get the chance to see the sermon on the Church of Union YouTube channel, please go and check it out. I'm probably going to be going back and watching again. Even the messages beforehand, the reading, everything was just so perfectly tied in. So I'm still like integrating, but these are just some thoughts that I had. But yeah, I wanted to pass it off to you guys. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I love what you were saying there about like just the true importance of grounding that foundation with God. And one of the things that I was recognizing within myself was that I at one point was pushing and pushing and wanting the harmonious union. And it was probably at the beginning of this year where it kind of just clicked for me that it was like, I really just want God. Like I just want this love and the peace that comes with just being with God. And that requires you to just be present in every moment and really feeling your feelings, to where it's just a knowing that your harmonious union will just evolve and come to fruition when you have built that foundation. And also the other thing that was coming to me was like, just first of all, Jose and Michaela look absolutely fantastic today. Like they're so beautiful on screen. But when you watch the classes and you see how Michaela has come from where she began to where she is now, like she came from a very just like, she was like, you could just tell she was just like this little girl, this innocent little girl here, but now like she's this elegant, beautiful woman, and because she has created that for herself over time. And it's a really beautiful way to look at that as well. But it's really understanding that balance and understanding like, are you going to classes because you feel that you're lacking something or that you need to fix something, or are you going to your classes because you desire more God in that space and more awareness and deeper love in that space? And that is something that I've really had to learn and come to just a deeper understanding within myself. And that was also part of where I was being really hard on myself. It was like, oh my gosh, I didn't do a class today. And if I didn't do a class today, I'm not loving my harmonious union. And then I'm like, well, no, me just being hard on myself is not loving my harmonious union. And really having to be very honest with myself in that place, which is also another key to the foundations of your harmonious union, is honesty. And so really just being aware of why you do things and what's the action behind it and the energy behind it. And really understanding that if you're just pursuing God and desiring deeper love and really just wanting to be in that space with God, then you're doing it right. But if it's for the manifestation or the physical, tangible thing, that is not grounded in the solid foundation that we're talking about here.
Amen. Amen. It is so funny that they spent like maybe like 10 minutes talking about foundation. It was really key to the sermon, important. And the recalculating that I did for myself this morning was like, look at your foundation. Like, well, where could you improve things? And it was still on point. And yeah, I'm just going to share a little bit of my story just to like put that in perspective, because I feel like it will illustrate beautifully what Stephanie and Kenisha has said. It's like with the mirror exercise up until maybe a few months ago, I'd say I would push myself and keep my head in the mud because I felt like I would always feel bad, but I was just not surrendering into feeling my feelings fully and also feeling the peace. That was where I felt that it was nothing, and so that I must like keep pushing until I arrive somewhere, I guess. And so I kept pushing myself, and I also kept pushing myself in my life and wanting my harmonious union until I realized that I just wanted a happy fix, and that's not how God works. And yeah, so that was not compassionate. I did most of the mistakes like Jose did. I think a lot of us did at the beginning of our journey. And also with like watching classes right now, I'm at maybe the end of the 60s to 70s in the classes for the first time. And I've been here for 2 years, but it's okay. It's like my own schedule, and I feel so much relief that I don't agree. And I've mentioned that because like I had to master thesis, I had school, I had internship, and I would guilt myself into like, oh no, I'm not advanced enough, or maybe I'm not too invested in my journey, where in fact I was. And so it's so funny how we would like push and guilt ourselves, keep ourselves in hell feeling this way, instead of just enjoying the journey with God. And I realized that I was like perfectly where I was meant to be where I was. And every time I picked the class back up, it was always perfect for what I was doing. And this is no coincidence. Um, so it was just like little confirmations and step by step that I was where I was meant to be, and it was just perfect. And then step by step, slowly, God asked me to, like change little things in my self-care routine, or redecorate my apartment, um, find something else in my career that makes me happier, that feels juicier to me. All these little tweaks, but are part of my foundation. And it's like I was enjoying all of these things in my process and meditating and changing. And it didn't seem for most of my relatives that I was like getting ahead in life or anywhere really. But I knew like I was taking like immense strides in my journey, in my inner work, that I was feeling better inside myself. And I was also, for the first time, enjoying my connection with God, and just like starting a friendship. I was like, I'm not here because I want to get somewhere or run somewhere. That feels exhausted. I just want a friend to share my life every day, a lover, a partner. And I realized that I have that in you, that I don't feel close to you right now. Help me feel close to you. And so it was just a beautiful process of like relaxing and feeling that, okay, it isn't meant to be hard. It is challenging sometimes, but it's not hard because you're with God always. Yeah, that's just the beautiful thing with life, and the beautiful thing with this work is that, yeah, it's just with beautiful moments when you really come to that recognition in yourself, even though you've heard it like many, many times. It just doesn't compare to actually getting it.
Amen. I love it. Well, first of all, congratulations, because that is a spiritual achievement. Is you can like learn everything here, but you don't really know it. You don't really have it until you have it here in your heart, right? Until you're embodying it, until you have it within you. And so I think a lot of times we try to be the good student, or like the good, this, like you touched upon it, like I wanted to be successful and get ahead. But like, what does that even mean? Like what's the real, like in divine truth, getting ahead is just getting with God. And so like you can get ahead right now just by sitting with him in your heart. Like you're ahead, you're with him. That's it. There is no other ahead, because that denotes separation, right? So yeah, I think that's really cool for you. Congratulations. That's actually like a really huge, that's a vibrational shift where you shift from knowing something to embodying it. And I think that's what we're all, that's part of the journey. That is the journey. Jeff and Shaleia teach the knowledge, they give us the foundation, and we know the pillars, we study this work, but we're healing our separation to fully embodying it. And that requires that, the honesty and the compassion and, hard work and dedication and all those things. But yes, I really wanted to first, before moving on, I wanted to, touch upon what you said and respond to that. I also noticed we always talk in like a little circle, the three of us. We each have our turn, but we don't need to. So if you have a message, if you have like a piece after someone has something, feel free to just speak up. Just be you, and do what feels good. So yeah, I want to talk about the foundational piece. Yuri, you talked about how in your life you realize that just being with God, decorating your house, resting, being with him, feeling good was a huge part of the journey. And I've noticed that too. I mean, we know that But I've been experiencing that and really enjoying that journey myself. And something that I have been really learning to fully embrace and like ground into and enjoy is exactly that, because this is the place where I've needed the most love in my journey. Was really being grounded and creating a sacred space for myself, a home. Because I never really had that on my journey, and so that's where I was challenged the most on this journey. And continue to be, but it's also the greatest, juiciest experiences for me. But yeah, after I heal a deep upset, I need to not only rest to integrate it, but then I'm called, if I'm just fully present with myself and honest with my feelings, I'm called to integrate that healing deeper in my physical reality through action. Not to ignore my reality and push ahead into what's the next bad feeling and upset. Where else is not perfect in my life, but to take the to protect what I just the work that I just did and honor it and love it completely, right? It's compassionate to love completely yourself in all ways. And so if I'm not seeing something clearly, I'll have a manifestation in my reality. I will heal it on the inside, feel so much better, but I still have that broken thing in my reality. I still need to take care of that too. And I'll make sure to, now with the new, the block healed, I have the answer to heal it in the physical, to love myself in the physical too, to give that thing to myself. And so I do that. So sometimes for me, especially lately, I've been feeling like I heal a big block and I look around and everything looks a little different, like a little bit more clear. Like I had this moment in the shower after a huge deep core block healing where I was just like washing my hair and I was looking at the tiles on the wall and I was like, whoa, there's tiles. I never really was like fully present with seeing that there's tiles, which is crazy. But healing the block allowed me to be more present in my reality, to appreciate it more, to receive it more, not just in my union itself, which is wonderful and amazing as well, but and also in my other relationships, right, with like my friends and my family, but also like in my relationship with my life itself. And so that's always really cool to be present with that, like my shifting relationship and notice that. And it's really cool. And I'm like, I just feel so highly present with everything. And even my food, the way I cook my food, I notice I am more present with it after I heal blocks. And I give myself space to have that experience. Don't pressure myself to try to be somewhere else, because then I'm not really honoring all of the work I just did, right? And so that's how I've been learning how to be really compassionate with myself, give myself space to ground all of the love, all of the healing that I've done, and not judge myself for wanting to have that space with myself. And it also looks like a lot of self-care as well. But lately for me in my home, like I said, that's where I've been really, I feel like I've experienced a lack of love in a really big way in that space. So that's where I'm being guided to spend a lot of my time, a lot of my energy, in building and giving that to myself, and recognizing that as I do that, I'm actually allowing myself to heal even deeper, the next piece, even more, even deeper, once I fully complete this piece. Because when I didn't do that, I found myself just running in circles, always feeling bad, never really healing anything, spending a lot of time trying to heal, but not really healing anything. But when I do this and I just give myself compassion and space to fully integrate and process, I can go all the way, feel amazing, have beautiful manifestations in my life, like this new home that I'm living in now, and in Switzerland and the French region of Switzerland, in the mountains, and there's beautiful fog rolling on the mountains in the mid-morning, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Like coming from Phoenix, Arizona, the desert, like total turnaround. With I can hear the cows not mooing, but the little bells ding, 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 in the morning when they come out to pasture. like those cute little, like the traditional cow bells on the Swiss cows that you see in like advertisements and stuff. It's not a dream. It's my reality now. And I built this foundation because I took my time. I don't want to say I wasn't, I want to say I took my time, but I don't want that to get misconstrued as like I was lazy or controlling. What I want to, what I hope to convey here is that I did what felt good, and I honored my heart, and I was compassionate with myself. And I'm just learning how to give this to myself in all places, including my relationships, which is where I'm really, really working on it. But yeah, compassion's the way.
I love that completely. Like it's really grounding in the fact that this is a lifestyle and not just spiritual work. That's something that I've really been grounding the last few months, is like really not separating my spiritual work from like other parts of my life, because that's not how it works. And so one of the ways that I've really been able to ground deeper into that is like how I parent and mother my children. Like today I was listening to the church service and I was getting ready, and my son was sitting right next to me, and I just encouraged him. I was like, baby, I want you to listen to like what they're saying here about like how important it is to feel good all the time. And if you don't feel good, then you're having a block or an upset. And I just like let him know, like, if that's how you feel, that like you're not feeling good in that moment, it's okay to communicate with mommy. Mommy can help you move through that. And he was like, okay, and then he just sat and listened to the rest of the service. And before I would do it like individually or in my room or something like that, but I'm really learning how to bring my community and what I learn into my household, and so that it becomes their way of life too, instead of like having to like wait down the line and be like, here, let me just teach you what I've learned over the last couple of years. And that's one of the things that I'm very also grateful for, is the deep amount of love that is in my household, because it was not something I grew up with. It was absolutely opposite of what I grew up with. And so really understanding that what I'm learning here in classes and what I'm moving through is completely safe to share that with my children, and be very open and honest with them, and show them the compassion, that it's okay to not to make mistakes and to have moments of where you feel like you're failing, but understand that you're doing it with God, and that with God you actually can't fail. You're just learning, and you're human, and it's okay. And so I really deeply appreciate just the compassion that I receive from my spiritual gurus, like Jeff and Shaleia have really parented me, which I was thinking today, I was like, they're only like 2 or 3 years older than me, but man, they've parented me more than like my own parents have parented me. And I'm so grateful for it, because they're really teaching me how to be a more present parent, and how to parent myself as well. And really implementing that, just that deep love and balance that I always desired, and thinking that I lacked it, but that's not the truth. Like God always moved through whoever he needed to move through in my childhood. And that's what led me to where I am now, and really understanding that everything happens the way it's supposed to, and we don't have to judge it. We can just accept it and love it and move through it, and really allow ourselves to just be completely patient with the process, patient with their journey. Like, you probably didn't know 3 years ago that this would be the life that you're living, but you persisted, which is also one of the key foundations of the keys for harmonious union. And so it's really understanding that you are the only creator in your reality, and really allowing yourself to heal through that block, and not put your head in the mud or avoid it or hide when you've healed through this block, maybe, like I said, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And I think Jason even touched on it in Arizona, where he was like, sometimes like you're having an upset every 1.4 seconds and you're having to like repeat the core choice that you're making, and until you actually really ground it. But it just requires a lot of compassion and just really being persistent with the work. and understanding that it is a lifestyle. It's not like, let me do this and get my harmonious union and then stop the work, because that's actually when the work starts, when you get into harmonious union. And I think sometimes people don't quite grasp that. And Jeff talked about this yesterday in class, of like how truly important and valuable the mirror exercise is. It's really the only answer. And even sometimes he still struggles with like, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to move through. Like, it's the mirror exercise, do the mirror exercise. And that's really the key of having your heaven on earth, is identifying the upset and then moving through it and loving yourself, and really choosing that as your lifestyle, and making sure that you understand that you are meant to feel good. That's what you're created for, is to feel good.
I think it's sorry. I think it's what
sorry, I was just going to share something, but I can wait.
oh, I think it's that balance that Jose was talking about. You know, healing inside yourself first, but also not like spending your day in the inner world, not spending your day working either, having a balance between both. But we're all learning. I think with the common denominator of most of people in the community now is that we've all desired to have that balance in some way, in one way or another in our life, especially when we were kids. And now we're getting it. And isn't it beautiful that you're trying to get things your way, you're trying to achieve your dreams and maybe force them a little bit, or force yourself to be with your twin flame, and actually this work is teaching you, no, let go and do the inner work and love yourself, and get a career and get wealthy and get beautiful and get loved up and get cozy and master your spiritual life, and you'll have even better results than you could have ever imagined, like going the other way. And sometimes it's difficult to let go of trying to do it our way, and saying that you actually have to do the mirror exercise. But like, yeah, God is really easy that way. It's so simple, so counterintuitive to what we have learned. But it gets us so much result, like so much joy, and we get to be with God. We get to be with God, and we get to have like a life beyond our wildest dreams. And yeah, I find this beautiful.
Amen. That was really beautiful. I completely agree. And that really is the success. And Jeff and Shaleia talk about how do you really measure success on the journey? Is it that I'm pushing through my upsets, like how many upsets I've healed today? Or is it even if I manifested the thing? Well, no, none of those things are really accurate to know, if you're a successful spiritual student, if you're being successful on your journey. Jeff said that the only real way is to know, to ask yourself, are you moving through what's in front of you right now? If yes, good, you're being successful. If no, well, then that's where you need to focus your energy, moving through and loving completely what's in front of you right now. And I wanted to bring up earlier, after what Kanisha had shared, it's actually so cool how today on the TFU Facebook page, Twin Flames Universe Facebook page, the meme of the day is actually a quote from Twin Flame Ascension School from the Wednesday 7 p.m. class 33. And it says, don't take it to the point beyond where you can respect yourself. If you have to give up something divine about you to continue, just stop there, because you don't need to go any further with it. Take it up again when you are able to take up again the work of loving your twin flame. So it's safe to be patient and compassionate with yourself and honor your divinity, and allow you're like, if you're not able to be in peace and you're not able to feel good moving forward, don't. Do the work that you need to do to not only protect your peace, have boundaries for that, but love yourself. I'm like I said, deeply learning this because I absolutely was not taught this in any way. And like you said, Yurine, it was actually quite the opposite that was taught in, our culture and society. And I find myself having to almost like reprogram my thoughts in this space, of like knowing that the thing that I'm doing, like I'm successful and I'm loving myself and loving all others because I'm no separate from anyone else in God's truth. We're all one. So to really truly love another is to love yourself first and foremost. And so like when I have compassion for myself and I honor my heart first, perfect. And so like, yeah, if anything in our life ever is like too overwhelming or basically invites us to like disrespect our divinity or to push ourselves outside of, I mean, we all talked about that, how we were doing that to ourselves a lot on this journey. But this can come up anywhere in our life, right? We need to uproot it within ourselves first, and then also handle it and have boundaries in our life itself, and in our relationships, and even in our union as well. But it's really safe to ground into that compassion and the good feeling. And if anything arises as you're there, if anything arises, you handle it with the mirror exercise, but you live in God, in the good feeling, and you just continue to expand that. Yeah, when I first started as a, 2017, I think, May 2017, I think is when I first started, when I joined Twin Flame Ascension School. And I used to actually live my life in the bad feeling and like live my life in that kind of my head in the mud, kind of like looking for the next upset, thinking that that was the most effective or efficient way to move through the upsets and the separation. Nope, definitely not. Definitely not. Lots of contrast. Don't do that. And it wasn't actually until I made the choice to be happy now with where I'm at and just be compassionate with where I'm at, exactly like Michaela and Jose said. Adam and Brian touched upon that as well. Danny and Christina touched upon that as well. Just be happy with where you're at, appreciate that, have gratitude with where you're at. That's when I really started to take off in my spiritual work. I feel like that's when really something started to click. Kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Yurine, is like, you just clicked of like, oh wait, I'm supposed to feel good. I'm supposed to enjoy my life. That is me doing it right. Oh my gosh. And you just like, it just clicks, you're there. Yep. When I had that realization, that foundational piece, I just started to be able to really sort through my inner work in a much more effective and efficient way. And I'm still refining that. I still have tons of blocks that come up, but, and I'm still tested with tons of compassion with myself and my life purpose and my life itself. But yeah, like, it feels much better to have this piece handled. And so I can move through all the heavy stuff a lot easier. So it doesn't take me down,
For sure.
Yeah, it's like one of the things that you just said was like when Noreen had said like, oh, I'm supposed to feel good. I had that moment this morning where like I woke up and I felt just massive anxiety. And I was like, I can like get up and like move literally like physically through this anxiety, or I can like recognize that I actually don't have to feel this way. Like I can literally just love myself until this feeling goes away, and I don't have to identify it. I don't have to figure out why it's here. I can just love myself through it. And right after I did, my youngest comes busting in my room and he was like, good morning, mom, and like gives me a hug and a kiss, and then he runs right back out. And I was like, it looks like I healed that upset. But the other thing was really understanding, and I love this analogy. I don't remember who told me this. It might have been my coach, but where like they, in the airplane, they always say like, if the mask comes down, the only way you can help the person next to you is by putting your mask on first, and then you help the person next to you. And that is really like the key understanding, is like you have to love yourself first and give to yourself first before you can go give to whoever, especially like your twin flame. Like they're going to be the one who mirrors to you, right? Identically, that you are not giving to yourself, and that does not feel good. So that's a really important key for me, that I continue to remember, like, I have to give to myself first and take care of myself first before I try to pour into someone else's cup.
That was exactly what I was going to touch on. And I think it was Stephanie, you talked about real compassion at the beginning. And yeah, I think it's real compassion is showing compassion for yourself and definitely not comparing yourself to others. Because I feel like comparing yourself to others or having expectations of where you should be at one point or another is creating more unhappiness for you and separation than it is doing yourself good. And when you realize, when you have that shift that you talked about and that we both experienced in our way of like relating to the inner world, it feels so much better. Suddenly it feels like so much more peaceful and easier, even though the plugs don't stop just yet. It's like, all right, now I know how it's supposed to be done. And it's in that moment where when you start to release all that comparison that you did with others. And actually, yeah, coming back to one thing I said in the beginning, you start to relate to others because you start to share love and you start to relate based on love, and you realize that they don't have it all figured out themselves. Like no one ever figures it out all on their own, because it's not our job, it's God's job. So comparison is just, yeah, don't do that. And it's so detrimental to having real compassion. And so yeah, if you really want to, if you're asking yourself if you can have real compassion for yourself and for others, I think you should start there.
That's so good. And I love that. For me, when as I heal this and I face this all the time. But for me, it's not so much about other people's expectations for me and like other people, that anything on the outside. For me, it's really heavily what I think I should be doing for myself. And Kanisha, you mentioned like, I bet you earlier, like, I bet you 2 years ago, you'd never think that you'd be here now. It's true. God blows my mind every day. Like every day, my heart is guiding me to something and it feels so good. It feels so right. But my mind tries to tell me I am something else every single day, right? And that's just my own ego that I'm healing through, right? Or I should say, because I don't have an ego, that is just ego within me that I am learning how to dissolve and release, heal, to claim my full divinity, my truth. And there are truly so many things in my life that I had expectations myself of, like, from programming, from cultural beliefs, from gender roles, from all these different things on how I should be or what I should like or what I should want to do or what is the most successful thing for me to do with my skill set, right? All of these, this control and expectation. And as I've moved through this process, this healing, I've learned deeply that none of that is really me. None of those thoughts or expectations were actually me. They were just expectations. They were just control. And it's not compassionate for me to try to force myself into those boxes either, because my heart is actually guiding me somewhere different. And my whole life, I just tried to follow my head. And it really led me deeply down into, like I told you, like that circle of just feeling bad all the time, even in the spiritual work, thinking that I should apply it in the way that my head says. No, apply it in the way that feels good, the way that your heart tells you. Like that's actually the truth of the teaching and the core of the teaching. But like it was mentioned and brought up in the sermon, like, evil ego, will try to use anything to derail you, to push you into separation. Just follow your heart.
sometimes that comparison pattern that can even come from your twin flame. You know, these people at the beginning of their journeys, and even ourselves at bed, saying like, oh, but if my twin flame is doing that, does that mean that I should do that or this, or does that mean that I should have this skill set, but we don't look like each other? And no, it's not bad at all. It's it's actually not bad at all. So yeah, even your twin flame, yeah, be
So
careful.
true.
It's just about you and God.
So true. And that's actually Kieran and I are working through that in our union. We've been having like this kind of like light deepening of our life purpose. You know, because twin flames are meant to live their life as one. Like when you're living in harmonious union, you choose to live your life as one. But if you don't really understand like how to partner, like really what your purpose is, or you're still going deeper in that, you're still healing there, learning. Having compassion there is really necessary and appropriate as well as you move through that process of getting clear, right? Like healing into clarity. And you can't get clarity outside of you. You can't get clarity on something or the truth about like, but when you grasping at it and desperately trying to seek it, right? That's not actually how you get any real answers. That's how you can definitely grasp at like, you know, illusions for sure. I don't suggest that though. True clarity, real answers, truth only comes from the inside. And so it requires a lot of patience, a lot of presence, and the choice to get clear. And so you're realizing like, you know, even the way that we are designed as a union and you know, every single person's union is so different. And the way that you work together is so different. The way you're designed is so different. Even the way that you were created to use your energy, right? Not only your union itself, but each individual in the union is so unique. And that's another thing that they talked about in the sermon as well, is like, you can't compare your journey to anyone. You can't compare your union to anyone. And your journey is already perfect. Your union is already perfect. Your twin flame is already perfect. You are already perfect. You're just awakening to the perfection. You're learning why. You're learning, like, you might not understand why God guides you in a certain place. You're not like, you don't need to, right? But he'll let you know when it's time. But that's not up to you. And when you have compassion with yourself and recognize, oh, I'm not my source, you allow yourself to just enjoy the ride and be led by God. And that's so juicy and intimate in your life. And it just brings you bliss. Like this whole entire tea time, I've just been having a lot of fun being here. Like I've been giggling a lot and like really like, you know, just in a lot of joy being here and talking about this. And I think that really shows like, for me, like the commitment to joy in my life in every step, and making that like a part of my foundation is like not pushing myself, because I'm so done with that. I've already, you know, moved through that in my journey. I'm so done with it. And it just feels so bad. So no way. But yeah, back to what I was saying about my union. We're learning, like, I have my certain strengths and what I've been cultivating for our harmonious union, like the garden, as Jeff and Shaleia talk about, and they teach in Twin Flame Ascension School, the garden of your union. You cultivate one area of your garden and your twin flame cultivates the other. And I'm just like learning to appreciate what I'm cultivating for our union, and also what he cultivates for our union, and learning how to partner in the appropriate way and being compassionate. Like, he's not going to be like, I noticed myself doing a lot of the inner work for our union. And at first I was kind of upset about that. I was like, you're in school too. Like, you know how to do the exercise. Why don't you do as much healing as me? And I really had to, like, you know, release that, you know, that upset there, and recognize like there's actually a purpose to that. It's like, I actually really like it. It's really compassionate for me to do a lot of inner work, because I really enjoy it and I have a deep inner foundation. But it's not really compassionate for me to do all the financial administrative work for our household. He loves that stuff. Like, it's so fun. It takes him almost no energy to do it. It's really enjoyable for him because he has a really rich foundation in the physical life that he's been cultivating for our union. And, you know, he had to work through his upsets around, like, why doesn't she contribute more, something more here? We were working through it at the same time in the same space because it's the same upset. We just had to like, be compassionate with ourselves, with where we're each individually at, where our union's at, but also just to learn to have gratitude and appreciate. It's really beautiful what we both contribute. Super powerful, and they're both super valuable. And we're a dream team, like really like taking on life. What do they say? Kicking ass, taking names. If I can say that. If I can't, just bleep it out. But yeah, like that's how, like that's the cultivating of real like wealth and abundance in your life, is cultivating first a deep, rich inner wealth. And that can only happen with that deep compassion. And then you can soar. That's what we're, getting clear on in our union, and going like, oh, that's how, like, that's you, like, that's for you, and that's for me. And like, oh, that feels really good. Instead of trying to pressure each other into places that don't feel good, right? Kind of like you were talking about, Irene, of like, sometimes we look at our twin flame and try to force ourselves to be a certain way. But it could also be the other way around. When you're in your union with your twin flame, you might be like, but you're supposed to be like that, and not, vice versa. Nah, that doesn't serve you either. Compassion's the way to go, for sure. And just be appreciative of where you're at.
I love that. I feel like that's a great finish to this tea time. How are you guys feeling?
Really good.
Yes, feels really good and complete. That was really fun.
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany.
We didn't have time to read the beautiful comments that people have been leaving in the chat.
We have a few minutes though, if we want to. If you guys have a few extra minutes to stay on call,
I actually have to get into divine leadership. But thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we are gonna close down this winding down to our hour. Thank you to everyone who's been watching the live and who's watching us from YouTube. And if you really like that discussion, don't forget to subscribe to see more of our Sunday services and live discussions, and like this video, and leave a comment and share your insights on what to get from today too. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a
Thank
good one.
you.